6 feet beneath your home, there's a temperature that never changes. It doesn't matter if it's 105 degrees outside or freezing cold in the middle of winter. That layer of Earth stays almost perfectly stable, cool, silent, constant. And for thousands of years, humans didn't just know this. They built entire systems around it. They cooled homes, preserved food, even stored ice in the middle of deserts. No electricity, no machines, no modern technology, just earth, air, and time. So here's the question. If this works, if it's been proven across civilizations, why don't we use it anymore? And more importantly, what would happen if you did? This is where we break down the systems that actually work. If you're interested in solutions that last decades, not just years, subscribe, because most of what matters today isn't being taught anymore. Let's start with the one thing everything else depends on. The ground beneath your feet is not random. It behaves with precision. At around 6 to 10 feet deep, the soil locks into a stable temperature, not approximate, not fluctuating, stable. That temperature is usually close to the average yearly temperature of your region. So if your city averages 55 degrees over the year, that's what the ground holds, all year. Even when the surface above swings wildly, think about that for a second. The air above your home might go from freezing to extreme heat, but just a few feet below, nothing changes. Why? Because of something called thermal mass. Soil is heavy, dense, and slow to react. To change its temperature, you need to move an enormous amount of energy, and by the time that energy finally reaches deeper layers, the season has already changed. The result? A natural delay, a buffering effect. The Earth absorbs heat slowly and releases it slowly, which creates a constant environment beneath you. This is why root cellars worked, why caves stay cool, why underground spaces have always been used for storage. But ancient civilizations didn't stop at storage. They turned this into a system. In ancient Persia, engineers built long underground channels. Air would enter from above, travel through these buried pathways, and lose its heat to the surrounding Earth. By the time it reached living spaces, it was cool enough to survive brutal desert climates. They paired these tunnels with tall wind towers, structures designed to catch airflow and push it downward into the system. No fans, no power, just pressure, movement, and design. The Romans did something similar. They built air channels beneath villas, pulling cooler air from shaded underground areas and circulating it through living spaces. In Korea, systems were designed beneath floors, regulating temperature through controlled airflow. In the American Southwest, people built homes partially underground, using the earth itself as insulation. Different regions, different cultures, same discovery. The earth regulates temperature. Now here's where things get interesting. Modern engineering didn't invent this, it rediscovered it. Today, this concept exists as something called an earth tube system, or sometimes a thermal labyrinth. The idea is simple. You bury a pipe underground. You pull outside air through it. As that air travels, the earth absorbs excess heat. On a hot day, air enters the pipe at high temperature and exits significantly cooler. On a cold day, the opposite happens. The ground warms the air before it reaches your home. One system, two functions, heating and cooling, and the only energy required is a small fan. Now let's talk performance, because this is where everything changes. Engineers measure cooling efficiency using something called coefficient of performance. Most air conditioners operate between 2.5 and 3.5. That means for every unit of electricity, you get roughly 3 units of cooling. But systems based on underground thermal exchange, they can reach efficiency levels far beyond that because they're not generating cooling, they're transferring it. They don't fight heat, they redirect it, and that difference changes everything. So again, if this works, if it's efficient, if it's been used for thousands of years, why isn't every home built like this? The answer isn't technical, it's structural. Modern cooling systems didn't just evolve, they were adopted, promoted, and standardized. In the early 20th century, mechanical cooling became a symbol of progress. It wasn't just about comfort anymore. It was about modernization, control, convenience, and slowly, everything that came before it was labeled outdated, primitive, unnecessary. Architectural education shifted, building codes adapted, and passive systems disappeared. Not because they failed, but because they didn't fit the new model. Think about how modern systems work. They require installation, maintenance, replacement, energy consumption, constantly. They create a cycle, a system of dependency. Now compare that to an underground system. You install it once, minimal moving parts, extremely low energy usage, and it can last for decades. No recurring costs, no regular breakdowns, no dependence on complex machinery. From a purely functional perspective, it makes sense. But from a system perspective, it disrupts everything. Because a system that doesn't need constant servicing doesn't create ongoing revenue. And that's where things start to shift. It's not that these systems are illegal, it's that they exist outside the standard framework. Most building codes are written around mechanical systems, predictable designs, known materials, standardized components. A buried pipe system? It doesn't fit that template, so instead of being integrated, it's overlooked. There are also legitimate concerns: radon, moisture, air quality. But these aren't unsolved problems. They're design challenges. In many parts of the world, they've already been addressed. With proper sealing, drainage systems, filtration, monitoring, the system works when it's built correctly. And that's the key. Because this isn't a shortcut. It's a system that depends on precision. Depth matters. Too shallow, and you lose stability. Too deep, and cost increases unnecessarily. Length matters. Short pipes don't allow enough time for heat transfer. Slope matters. Without proper drainage, moisture builds up. Material matters. Smooth pipes reduce buildup and improve airflow. Airflow matters. Too fast, and the air doesn't exchange heat properly. Too slow, and efficiency drops. Everything has to be balanced, and when it is, something interesting happens. Your home stops reacting and starts regulating. It no longer depends entirely on machines. It works with the environment instead of against it. And when the power goes out, this system doesn't stop. Because the Earth doesn't stop. That's the real difference. This isn't technology that needs to be powered. It's physics that's always been there. The same temperature beneath your home today was there 100 years ago, and it will still be there 100 years from now. Unchanged, unaffected, reliable. And that's why systems like this feel different. They're not temporary solutions, they're permanent ones. For thousands of years, humans built with this understanding. They didn't rely on machines to fix their environment. They designed their environment to work naturally, somewhere along the way. That approach changed. Convenience replaced design. Systems replaced structure. And knowledge like this quietly faded out. But it was never lost. It's still beneath you, right now. The ground doesn't advertise, it doesn't market itself, it doesn't require upgrades, it just works. The only difference is whether you choose to use it. If you found this valuable, subscribe, because the next video breaks down another system hiding in plain sight. One that could completely change how you think about energy and independence.